somewhere close to $20.
What?
Okay.
How much do you pay?
$30.
Online?
Yeah, it was the international edition, but
Perfect.
yeah, it's brand new.
I was kind of on the lower end. Oh, you wrote this book.
Yeah. So I'm disappointed you're buying used copies here. All right, this is Management 4720, Business Strategy and Policy. Tonight is Monday, October the 13th,
Yes.
and this is our first class meeting. It's, once again, a standing room only crowd. So let's go over what we're going to do in the course, and then kind of chill out and chat. This is the first time we've offered this course here. You are the guinea pigs. So you've got to give me feedback as it goes along. If I'm pushing you too much, let me know, because I need a laugh every once in a while. The textbook, Crafting and Executing Strategy, McGraw-Hill, 19th edition. The authors, there's 4 of them, Thompson and 3 others, one of whom is an A.J. Strickland III from Alabama.
I thought it was you. I was like, huh?
I was born in Alabama,
Well, I know.
but I have no idea who he is. He went to the University of Alabama, so
You don't all know each other?
not that well. Not like from West Virginia or whatever, you know. I believe the list price on this book from the bookstore, et cetera, is about $250. I apologize for that. There were a lot of books to choose from, but most of them I thought were very poor. Why strategy? Why a strategy course? If nothing else, it lets us pull from all the different coursework you've done and put it together into this application or that application. So, I'm still reading to pull out the casework type stuff I want you to do, where you're going to integrate that stuff. In the meantime, I've got the textbook, which I think the reading in the textbook is just straightforward. You need to know the terminology and the concepts. So I am creating, as I did in management, I'm creating student test banks with about 150 questions for the midterm, 150 questions for the final, right out of the text, out of the test bank for the text, without the answers. So you'll have to do the reading and develop the answers to approximately 150 questions for the midterm. Out of that, I'll pull 40 or 50 and say, here. You will have had 6 weeks anyway to have worked on that. So that'll be the textbook part of the course. That'll be the standard, yeah, this is what we always do in a strategy course, as far as readings and concepts. I don't know how much to weight that yet, because of some of the other things I want you to do. Maybe not very heavily, and maybe we'll modify that. I have 2 major topics personally that I want you to be acquainted with. One of them is because the OM program does not have a requirement for macroeconomics. And I think a basic understanding of macroeconomics is essential. I'm going to drag you through some basic macro. And you'll see I have the videos posted now, and that's an introduction to macro and the sort of stuff we can talk about here in the class. It's videos I use for my macro course. In fact, some of them are videos I used for the finance course in the HSA program because they didn't have to have macro either. And again, understanding macroeconomics, inflation, unemployment, GDP growth, why is the economy down in the dumps and how long is it going to stay there? How did we get there? What could we have done about it? I think understanding those kind of things, interest rates, because they have such an effect on business operations, what determines interest rates, what is monetary policy. I don't think you can call yourself a business major or claim to have any understanding of how this game is played in our world, whether it's nonprofit, governmental, or private corporate business, if you don't understand the major driving forces in our macroeconomy. So we're going to do that, and there will be part of the midterm that will be about macro. And then part of the final will be about my other major topic I want to expose you to, which is basically some pricing theory that probably goes a step beyond what you saw in managerial economics. It'll say, look, here's your company, here's your sales results for the last few years. Based on that, we're going to construct a demand curve. And based on that demand curve, we're going to talk about, are you really making as much money as you could? So those 2 big topics. Now, Textbook, a couple of big topics, and then question mark. A lot of stuff I'd love for you to read, but I'm trying not to bury you. Some cases. I'd like you to do at least a couple of 3 cases this term where you get a situation. And the cases, they may run 30 pages long, just reading about the company and reading their financial statements and looking at their organizational charts, getting an understanding of the competitive environment they're working in, some of the issues they're having, and then integrating all that into answering a few questions about what is their strategy, what should be their strategy, what sort of policies are they following that may not be doing any good, or what kind of things, policies, need to be changed to kind of straighten this organization out. That's all I want. That's all I want to do. You know, that's everything you know about a business all in 30 minutes. That's where I'm going. But I don't want to make this a killer course. I know you worked your butts off to get where you are now. I do want to make it thorough enough that you walk out of this course with an appreciation of integrating everything together. You got to let me know how it goes as we go along. Fortunately, I know you all, and I know you all to be conscientious students that won't let most of this stuff slide too far before you get into it, so you'll be able to tell me as we go along, how's it going. We're going to meet every other Monday, so 2 weeks from tonight will be the 27th. When we meet on the 27th, I would ask you if you could, and you'll see this, the document I put together is called the VRSQ. Videos, Readings, and Study Questions. And it's broken down week by week, and I know I've got it I at least have it built. I think I have it built through the midterm. So whatever the videos were, if there were any listed for tonight, but certainly there are some for 2 weeks from tonight, primarily on macro. Please watch those. There's some questions in there. Look at those. Let me know if they give you any issues or questions, and we'll talk through some of that next time. At the same time, I have put the study questions, the test bank for the first 2 chapters on Canvas. And the first exam goes chapters 1 through 6, I think. So I'll be putting the rest of those questions on board probably if not this weekend, very soon thereafter, hopefully before the weekend. That's what I got going. This is not a fully formed course. It's not even been fully formed in my head what to do. I'm still collecting materials and saying, oh, this is great, this is great, this is great, looking at it and going, oh, God, no way to do that. What are we going to throw out? And then I find something else that's interesting. So it's a work in process. Right? That's kind of my message as far as the course goes. Somewhere I'm going to ask you, you might put this in the back of your mind, I'm going to ask you to pick out either a company or an individual and give me a short paper, 3 to 5 pages. What's going on? This person doing good, this person doing bad. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? And how does it seem, particularly as you're reading through the book? I won't want the paper until the end of the course. But what I do want you to do is identify 3 companies or 3 individuals or some mixture that you would be interested in writing about, and send me those 3 names. That's for everybody, because I don't want you duplicating anything. So the sooner you get your list of, gee, I'd like to write about one of these 3 people or one of these 3 companies, sooner you get it in, the better your chance you're going to get your choice. Rank them in order of preference, which ones you'd like to write about first, second, or third. Okay? A couple of examples. From the macro view and some of the micro, we might want to talk about, what do you think is going to happen if we raise the minimum wage in the United States to $10 or $12 an hour? Good thing, bad thing. And of course, in economics, the answer always is, oh yeah. Good and bad. But I find particularly with the undergraduate courses, when I raise that question, people have very strong opinions. They're either very strongly in favor, we need a higher minimum wage because nobody can live on $7 an hour or whatever it is. And other people say, well, if you do that, we'll have millions of people unemployed. Neither one of those is true. Okay?
Less people doing more work.
Well,
And the cost of the end result will go up.
part of the discussion for me as an economist is that for the last 5 years of this recession, how have companies, why has the stock market climbed up to record highs? How have companies been able to increase their earnings consistently in a recession? How do you increase your profit? You do one of two things. Bring in more money or spend less money. In the middle of a recession, when you have millions of people unemployed, bringing in more money is not easy. So what else can you do?
Reduce
Cut costs.
expenses.
And what costs have we been cutting in this country the most? Labor.
Employments.
Labor. So part of this issue about raising the minimum wage, to me right now, is that a great many companies have cut their personnel back to the bare bones now. And so if you say, well, you're going to raise the minimum wage, they're not going to be able to lay anybody off. They're going to have to absorb that cost somehow.
And a lot of companies, what they do too, is they are, they're putting everybody's salary versus hourly. So they give you this chunk of money and set your salary now, and they expect you to work 50 hours a week, but then not paying overtime because you're a salary now.
Here's what happens. Depending on your job description, and particularly if you have responsibility for others, you are either hourly wage, and you are subject to the overtime law, which says if you work more than 40 hours in 7 consecutive days, you must be paid time and a half for those hours above 40. But if your job description entails responsibility for others and a few other qualifications, you can be exempt from the overtime law. And if you are in exempt status because you're management, that basically is a free license to the company to work you as much as they want. And they have been doing that.
Yep.
And they will continue.
And the rest of the jobs that have been coming out are part-time jobs.
Yes.
They can avoid benefits.
Mhm.
Another huge cost, which that's a cost cutter that they could do is cut benefits even for full-time.
That could be, well be part of what happens. You raise the minimum wage and you look around and you say, okay, all you people who are used to working 40 hours, you only get 20 hours. We'll double the number of people and work each one up half as much. Then we don't have to give them health care benefits.
That's been another talk, is reducing the number of hours that will count as full-time status.
Yes.
Isn't that why a lot of Santa Fe employees only get 27 and a half hours?
Yeah. In fact, our adjunct teachers out here, we cannot have them teach more than 4 courses a term because that's the equivalent of 30 hours. And if they taught more than that, we would be liable for their health care benefits. Not this year, but starting next year. And that's posed some problems too. But get back to it for a moment. If your company's got to suddenly pay higher minimum wage, and you can't, typically what would happen if you had to pay higher wages? You hire fewer people, so you let some folks go. What else do you do?
Cut benefits so that
You cut all kind of personnel costs that you can. What's your other option? Raise your prices. And then the third option is you take less profit out of the company. Well, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's take Walmart. If Walmart, I think Walmart is in the boat where they scale everybody down pretty well as far as they can, even keeping them on a part-time basis. If Walmart had to pay that increase in minimum wage, can they raise prices?
No, because they have all these people competing against them.
Do they? I don't know.
Their competitors would also have to raise prices as well. So everyone would have to raise.
There would be a built-in incentive to wait and not raise price and hope your competitor had to.
Yeah.
I don't think prices are necessarily going to go up very much. Okay? I don't think they can let too many more people go. But what is it going to do to Walmart's profitability? And who would be affected by that if, in fact, they had to pay higher wages by paying out lower levels of dividends to their stockholders? Who would be impacted severely by that?
potentially the board of directors till they change their mind.
Well, certainly what I'm going to call higher income stockholders.
Yeah.
Also, people who have 401ks and stuff and have their money tied up in Walmart stock, because that price and dividend will fall. And retirees in the same boat. But here's my suspicion, that the pain of Walmart having to, pay out less dividends, maybe is going to be argued that that's pain for those relatively few people is going to be more than offset by the higher wage for many thousands of people and for the businesses that they patronize. They will now become richer customers in your town, able to buy more stuff from your stores, and even from Walmart for that matter. So there's a lot of dimensions to this idea of raising the minimum wage. It's going to be negative for some people. Let's face it. You and I know a couple of them. They're not worth $10 an hour. They can, if you can't produce more than $10 an hour in value for me, I damn sure ain't going to pay you. So there's going to be some people who lose jobs. The people who are marginally qualified as it is. That means primarily the lesser educated, younger, less experienced. Some of those folks are going to lose jobs. I don't know how many. But whatever the negative side effects, there are some positive side effects as well. And I think it's going to be interesting to listen to that way out. Now, spin it around. Let's take it back to this course. My presumption with this degree is that most of you are not going to go out and run General Motors sometime next week. And while a lot of these strategy books talk about multinational corporations and huge, diversified businesses, I want to focus more on the management of a reasonably middle-sized or smaller business. You're going to go into a business with 200 to 500 to 1,000 employees. How would this minimum wage affect you? Let's take, for example, you had an air conditioning business. And you had your mechanics out there working for you and some clerical help. How many of them do you think you're paying minimum wage to today? $7.50.
Maybe an apprentice, if that.
I think maybe an apprentice, maybe an assistant office manager, clerk. But everybody else is probably making a little better than
Oh,
that,
yeah.
right?
Otherwise they'd be on the road.
Yeah. So when the minimum wage comes out, what's it going to do to you?
Not much.
Nothing.
Other than make some of your employees say, well, everybody else is getting a raise, how come I can't get a raise? And you'll have to fight that static. I'm not sure how bad that's going to affect you. If you're, how many employees have you got who you're paying less than $10 an hour for, assuming that's a new minimum wage? And maybe a couple, and maybe you're going to have to raise some of those wages. I'm not sure, and I'm honest, I'm not sure if that's going to be a big burden or just a small change in the way you do business. So I'm curious about, as we talk macroeconomics, we talk current events, what's going on, I'm curious to translate those into, what would that mean for me and you running a reasonably small-sized, mid-sized business? How would that change our policies and our strategies? Would we want to go, for example, to look at our employees and say, let's see how many of them we can shift over to less than 28 hours a week. That way we don't have to pay any benefits. Would it be a good idea or not? You got a bunch of full-time workers. And part of the deal is they're getting benefits. But if you pay them, if you hire them for less than 30 hours a week, you ain't got to worry about buying that health care coverage. You can save a lot of money. You think we ought to roll everybody back to working less than 30 hours a week?
No, because most people need the health insurance and.
Might increase turnover.
I think it almost, depending on how widespread it is, it will surely increase turnover.
Maybe even just do that to the people you want to get rid of to save having to pay unemployment.
Yeah, that's one way to go about it. That's pretty cold, but I admire it.
Depending on the nature of the job, it'll be exceedingly expensive to have turnover.
Give me an example.
Those air conditioner people.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very technical job, and
Mhm.
it takes many years of training. So if you have a lot of turnover, you're spending a lot of money training your new people.
And we're going to find, and it's kind of the same issue, but from another perspective, and a lot of small businesses, and air conditioning is one of them, the turnover among your technical people is very high anyway. If you're a really good AC mechanic, you can write your own ticket. Because why?
Everyone wants you.
And this is, and I'm speaking now from my experience consulting with some businesses in that area. A lot of the people who are air conditioning mechanics live day to day, check to check. That's pretty much all they know how to do. And their work ethic is not necessarily real high. They have a lot of personal issues, that sort of thing. So your turnover is high anyway. So you're trying to identify your very best people and keep them. But maybe you want to identify your marginal people and get rid of them. But you may be exchanging them for more marginal people. What happens to the morale and as a result of that, the quality of the work done and the customer relationships
Yeah,
you
the
have?
engagement, the
in your
engagement's
business?
not the same. I mean, the company that I work for went through a similar thing, and what they did was they ranked the associates, the managers ranked the associates in, the best, mediocre, people who, and they were giving them severance pay and said, see you.
They gave them what?
Severance pay, like like 1 week for years of service or something like that.
Severance. I would expect to see more and more of that.
And what they did was just rank them by, productivity and quality. I mean, there was a lot of, a lot of things that they went through.
But you've got to be able to measure it. You've got to be able to record
Oh
it.
yeah,
You've
we
got to be able to
measured,
do
we
that.
measured, we sat there and went through a lot of stuff, but it's pretty much a rank.
Do you think it did eliminate the poor performers?
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
would you say most businesses have poor performers? Marginal performers, if that's what you like?
Well, because the way they measure performance, they have these very wide ranges.
Mhm.
And like, for example, to be a successful in recovery, if you want to be, if you are a really good recovery person, will be about between 60 to 78%.
Mhm.
And we have people in our team that they were doing in the 40s.
Yeah, okay.
So when you add up how much they get paid, and they have been in the company maybe for 30 years.
Mhm.
So when you rent them, their salary was so high that maybe what they collected on a monthly basis was less than what they get paid for. When you add up the
That's kind of
So-
scary.
yeah, so those people will get the little piece of paper saying, thank you for so much, but your last day will be on this day.
Seems to be a natural part of the free market when you allow it to happen, is that supply and demand, they always want to come meet at their middle. And same thing with paying employees. If you're forcing the market to pay employees at a certain level, if you're not getting that level of quality or what you feel is that level of quality work out of them,
Mhm.
your incentive is to either make them better to that point or to get rid of them.
And to make them better frequently requires money and training and time and effort and aggravation. And so a lot of businesses take the approach that it's easier for me to just go through them until I finally find a good one. What I find in particularly smaller businesses, however, is that when you find a good one, many times they don't really take care of it.
Well, the company partnered with Gallup, and they have what is called the engagement score. And they, according to the theory of the engagements, the higher the engagement, the more discriminatory effort your employee will put towards, do the right thing for the customer. Well, our engagement, my team engagement is always out of a scale of 5, we had 4.82,
Good scores.
0.79, really good score. Well, in the, what they call the PC organization, one of the head of the company, we are the highest score team.
Yeah.
We are very, very engaged, but then we have these people who always came in late and this, and we were like, come on, we're telling our boss, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Come on, get rid of them. Because they were causing a lot of issues, arguments in the middle of the aisle, and then since they left, even our engagement score went up.
Yeah.
We were thinking, oh, we're going to get bad score because people felt sorry, but no, a lot of people were like, thank God they're gone. Because, or be a contributor, like a highly engaged contributor that will do whatever it takes to do the right thing for the customer, or just move on. Go, maybe, the company is not the right fit for you, or you are not the right fit for the company. But it was, we had an associate assaulted another associate. Oh, we had all kinds of issues. I was on the receiving end of that one. It was very interesting. But, all these things that after they, and I think it was March the 13th, the last day, when they walk out of the door, the very next work day, we had a party. Because it was much, much easier to work, even now. Even, the company look at us like, you guys are amazing. But it's just, all of us are very dedicated of what we do, and we love what we do. But sometimes those things are needed, in a team.
No argument. I'm going to quote John Spence for a moment. He says, your employees, your people, are either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. I think that's very true. What we would be concerned about in this course is, what kind of policies should we have that encourage the recruitment and the retention of the best, while identifying and either not even hiring or getting rid of those marginal performers. What should we be doing about that? And what is the long-term implication of that, the strategic implication? If we build the right culture, the right attitude, the right engaged people, what happens to us 2, 5, 6, 8, 10 years down the road?
You have a good
It's an
solid
amazing
company.
It perpetuates itself, and it does part of your job for you by weeding out the people. Because the subpar performers, they get identified by their coworkers very quickly and eased out.
The last 2 years that we went through with this group, it was pretty much a nightmare, but when we interview people, I sit in those interviews and we go through, portfolios, business portfolios, and we do all these things. And I remember vividly calling another manager and said, we are planning to hire one of your associates, give us a feedback. He's amazing. I mean, he just went on and on, and my boss and I like, oh, let's thank him. Until we open what we call the TOPS report, is how many times you are being absent without proper notice. Oh, he could have been out of the company a long time ago, but that manager that he was recommending us, this guy, didn't have, we didn't know about it, but he didn't have the managerial courage to put, implement the rules and regulations that the company has. And they're very easy to follow.
Yeah, but all he's doing is sending his problem to you.
Yeah, and it wasn't a problem, it was a nightmare.
Good strategy.
It was
Always
a
blame
nightmare.
somebody else.
Huh?
Always blame someone else and pass
Oh,
the
it
problem.
was bad.
Okay.
I still remember vividly.
I don't understand why so many managers are so reluctant to fire people that don't do their jobs right.
What do you think the biggest reason is?
Well, I personally, I think it's unemployment. Like they don't want cases back on them for wrongful termination.
There is a huge amount of that, and as bad as it may be in private business, go out to a public institution like this college. The willingness to actually undertake the effort to fire somebody, they have got to basically burn a building down before anybody's going to do anything.
And
Because A, it's lengthy, it's expensive, and it's probably going to come back on you with a lawsuit.
And
Okay?
I wonder how much is it costing them in other things. Like, yeah, it would cost this much in legal fees or whatever, but how much is it costing you in business, like actual patronage? How much is it costing you in other, like, office supplies and all the small things?
Or lower morale among your people.
Exactly. And, like, I just don't understand why people won't, like you said, take the managerial courage to step up and do the right thing.
I would submit to you one of the other biggest reasons, and we talked about it in the Caproni book, is people don't know themselves and therefore don't have the confidence in themselves, and they will avoid confrontation at every juncture. And if you don't have that confidence in yourself and that knowledge of yourself, you're afraid to fight, afraid to stand up and do something. I see that in every organization.
But it happens to be, my manager is one of those people that we did the assessment, the finders, strength finders, and she is a woo. Woo is somebody who is like a motherly kind of a type that feels sorry about people and stuff like that. And for the longest time, we have these people who didn't perform, but every single evaluation, she will give them a raise. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because then they will come out, they never said the amount, but they said, oh, I got a raise. And I'm like, no, she did not do that. And today she said, I'm a wall, and you have to help me, kind of put me against the wall, here and there. And said, I said to her, oh, this year, sure, no, I will do that one, because she is a person that is caring and loving, and I'm telling you, it's a motherly type, and she will do anything. And right now we have an associate who is way underperforming, not even 1/3 of what everybody else is saying, and she feels sorry for her. And I understand you have issues at home, you have all these things, but once they come into the building, this is a job.
Laura, you would love teaching at Santa Fe. Because 1/3 of your students will come in with all their excuses for why they couldn't perform. And
They will not be I'll be passing my
They
class.
are heart-wrenching, they are sincere, they're very real, but I take your point. You know, everybody maybe has to rehearse the right way to do that. And for me with students, my usual pitch is, I know you've got a lot of issues, and I know it's important to you to get through this class, but I think maybe this is not the right time for you. And I've done that with the management class as well. You're probably a very capable person, but this is not the right time for you. Please drop the course. And some of them will, some of them won't, and the ones that won't fail. Right across the board. But every one of us has to find that way to tap that courage to stand up and say, this is the way it's going to be, without being angry.
Right.
So, we're back in management instead of strategy. Okay. What are your understandings, background, interests? What does the word strategy mean to you? Anybody?
I think a guide, like a
Okay.
plan, like deliberate plan to do something. Like you got all your stuff and put it together and this is what I'm gonna do. Your direction, that will give you the direction where you want to go.
Okay.
Blueprint.
Where you want
That's
to
a
go,
good
or
word.
blueprint to get
Blueprint.
there? Okay.
Figuring out the best way to figuring out how to come up with the best solution with what you've got.
Okay. Okay, any
Or the
thoughts?
desired solution.
And not just the best solution for today, but for the future.
Okay.
And contingencies.
Generally, at least in my business, a corporate strategy we're looking at is for at least the next 15 years, not just the next couple of years, not just the immediate future.
Now, I've had one CEO who runs a governmental institution make the statement to me that I don't believe in strategic planning because the legislature in Florida dictates our budget and our general direction, and they change their minds all the time. He says, we can't plan anything out further than about 12 months because there's so much uncertainty we can't anticipate. This is a very successful executive, very well thought of. I thought it was fascinating to hear that. But that's a description somewhat of part of the environment that he lives in. And with that great degree of uncertainty, if you get locked into too rigid a plan too far into the future, that can become a huge liability. You can be way down the road, devoted a lot of resource to it, and then bingo, your legs are cut out from under you. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is read that first chapter and see where they talk about what is strategy. Because they have a lot of different terminology. There's strategy, vision, goals, objectives, plans, and they mean different things. And they try to put them kind of in a hierarchical structure. How do you know where you're going unless you describe what it is? How can you talk about where you want to go unless you can talk about your values for your organization? I don't think any of you took, and Laura, when you took micro with me, I don't know that we did that. I make my students write something called a choices paper in all my principles of econ course. And I want you to spell out for me, 1, what are the 3 to 5 most important things in the world to you? Your family, travel, shopping. For me, one of the most important things in the world is laughter. If you understand the most important things in the world to you, you understand that you don't want to live a life where those are constantly challenged or assaulted or affronted. But if you can understand and specify for yourself what's important to you, the second thing I ask you to do is tell me what you look like in 5 years. As completely and vividly as possible. Where do you live? What kind of job do you have? How much money do you work? What kind of car do you drive? What kind of stereo do you have? Where do you live? How is it furnished? Are you in a relationship? How do you spend your free time? Oh, no. If you can describe to me the way you want your life to be in 5 years, then you have a direction. And so if you don't know where you're going, how the hell are you going to get there? And so we talk about mission statements, what we do. We talk about vision of where we want to be, and the way all that stuff wraps together. I'd like you to read particularly that first chapter and see what it has to say about that. And kind of maybe make an outline of it and fit it into pieces. Somewhere in there, we get into things like writing a mission statement. We're not going to do that. Because I have led sessions like that with anywhere from 5 to 30 people. Let's come up with a mission statement for your organization and spend 2 days arguing about the way it was phrased. And I didn't like that term, I like this term. Well, what about if we did instead over, you try and take off in another direction? It's the most frustrating thing there. What happens with most formal approaches to strategy is, if they even go through that, and many do, they'll have a strategic retreat once a year with the chief executive, the senior executives, and they'll hammer all this stuff out and talk about what they're going to do. What happens with far too many of them is, they get it all written out, it looks really great in the book, it goes up on the shelf, and all it does is collect dust, because nobody ever goes back to it again. So, for that reason, I don't want to make this into some kind of rigid, heavy-duty, here's the way you do it course. There is no specific way you do strategy. And part of the reading I want you to do is to see some of the different views. That strategy is, for some people, strategy is how I dance through the days, making it up, with a general sense of where I want to go. What about you? And I hope this is true in part of the management course. I think it's going to be true in part of this course at least. How does this apply to you or I personally? What's your personal strategy? If I said, write me 2 pages on your life strategy, what would that look like? Any ideas on how you would start? How?
Well, the strategy for the next 5 years?
Okay. Or longer.
I would say short term, like within a couple of months, then a year, then maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years.
I would say if you're going to talk strategy, you want to start 2, 3, 5 years out the road. What's the first thing you would say?
I would establish where I'm at, so I have to build it.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you have to have the completion where you want to be though, and then how you're going to get there.
Yeah, one of the first things we got to do, and even before you say this is where I want to go, my question, why? I want to go to law school. Why? Describe where you want to be in 5 years, and my first question is why? And if you answer why, you start touching on those values. Because what I'm really saying is, why is that important to you? And to me, if I had that challenge, write out your life strategy in 1 or 2 pages, I think the first thing I would probably write down is, my objective in life is to be happy. By my definition, and there it is. And so, I think that takes form by me doing these things or living this way. And here's the attributes of happiness in Strickland's world. Now my strategy becomes, how do I achieve those things? And I got broad directions. I'm going to go to school and do this, but I'm going to have some side strategies along the way. They're like the lattice in a structure, reinforcing pieces. And that gets really messy. There is no, here it is, bing, 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 bing. So, maybe we'll try that towards the end of the term. Writing out your life strategy in 1 or 2 pages. That'd be an interesting challenge. All right? That's kind of where we're going. I hope you'll come in at night when we have the classes and we can have conversations like this. You'll have more to work with in 2 weeks, not just the text and the strategy concepts. Some of the readings I'll throw at you, and the videos, we'll go through the macro part for the next 2 or 3 weeks, talking about parts of that, or 2 or 3 meetings. And that's pretty much it.
We'll do like your other class where we do the week stuff before class, right? So
Yeah.
This week we'll be or before next meeting, we'll do this meeting's videos and reading
And the ones for next week. Yeah. Whatever's assigned for the 27th, have it done by the 27th if you possibly can. If anything else comes up along the way, give me a shout. I know you've all got a lot of things going on. All right, you got any other questions, comments, suggestions? Yes, sir.
I cannot get to any of your files except the original 3 syllabus files.
Okay, when you click for them to open and they don't open, on that screen, go up to the left-hand corner.
It's not that problem. I can't even see anything to click. It's just those 3 files.
Which files? You remember the names?
Course syllabus.
And none of them will open.
Those will open, but when I clicked through from my email service that a new file was added, I clicked through, it gave me to that page, and then when Canvas signed me out and I tried to sign back in again, all of those were gone. So I know there's a whole list of files that you posted, but I can't see them anymore.
Because I had issues trying to download them, and I follow your instruction, going to the left,
Did that
and
work?
there's like a home or something, you press there, and then all of a sudden they come all out, and you keep clicking them, and what they do, you just have to save them first, and then you open them.
Save them on your computer.
Yes, that's what I do.
Granted, but you're talking about a totally different issue.
Yeah,
You got into them once and now you can't go back and find them.
You can't
Right.
even see them to click them.
The only thing I know to tell you right now is to call Open Campus
Okay.
and explain your problem to them. And if you would, let me know what you learned. That's the first time I've heard that problem. If I hear of more people, I'd like to learn how you fixed it.
I emailed you earlier, but
I've got
probably had lots.
275 students this term. I've got 8 classes, plus 2 others I'm team teaching. I'm very good at doing that.
Because mine is-
Alright,
Really
then I
very
understand
good.
no response. Well, then you don't have to respond to it.
Oh, well, I will, but I'll most I'll say, check with Open Campus, let me know what you learned.
There. Maybe it'll resolve.
You trying to do that all from your phone, or did you get on the computer and
It
try?
was on my computer. I don't use Canvas on my phone.
Did you try more than one browser?
No, but I've never had problems with Chrome before.
Oh, you're using Chrome. Okay.
I could try 2 others, but
Because they've been pushing very hard Chrome in some classes.
Is that right?
One of my fellow coworkers, they told her she can't use her Internet Explorer at all for that class, that she has to get Google Chrome and use it for the class.
well, in all honesty, no one should use that Explorer for anything.
We used to have that problem with Angel before we were on Canvas. And you had to have a current version of whatever you were using, but that one didn't work. And this one only worked on Thursdays. So, yeah, let me know what you do and how it resolves. In the meantime, if you do see the documents and you click on them and they don't open in Canvas, download them to your computer, save them if
Hey,
you
do you want me
can open them.
to send it to your email? I could do that,
Sure,
I have it in the
for now,
computer.
maybe look at some stuff later, but,
Cool.
you know, nothing is ever opened on Canvas for me. I always download it to the computer.
Did you try to open them on Canvas, or you just download them automatically?
I would automatically download it because it would just flash an error in the box that it was supposed to open. This is just for other
I had
classes.
that happen a lot.
I've got students from all my classes writing me saying, it won't open on Canvas, it won't open on Canvas.
And I use Google Chrome and I view it on Canvas just fine without having to download it.
Okay, well, I'm telling them when they can't.
Maybe
go
the
ahead and
operating
download it.
system or
Don't worry
something.
about it.
Well, I wrote Open Campus about that, and they said basically, that's fine, but if you can identify specific documents, let me know. Well, sometimes it's this one, and sometimes it's that one. And even I can't open some of them. so.
Hey, I need to borrow your book for, can we go to the library?
My book?
Yeah, I just need, my book doesn't come from now until the February the 4th.
You want to scan it?
Huh?
You want to scan it?
Yeah, I just live at least first chapter.
Let me drive over there. I don't feel like walking.
Oh, I'm driving there, are you kidding me? I
Alright,
had
so
1 children yesterday and I'm still paying for it.
I'll give it some tinkering with other browsers and see if I can get it to work.
Okay, let me know. Anything else?
My only other comment is for whatever reason, Canvas still says your class is a Wednesday class.
Ah, yeah.
This,
Yep.
Doug said that when I signed up for it. That's why I did the online, because I didn't think I could make it in.
Well, when I registered, both this and Salesforce Management said they were Tuesday classes.
oh, really? Lovely.
And then I went after the break and checked my schedule, and yours said Monday and Salesforce Management said Wednesday.
That's what it is. Salesforce management changed, and that's why I can't do economics.
Oh, I got
That's right,
it. Okay, so,
that's right.
They were wrong about the entrepreneurship class, about the room and the book.
Oh, who was wrong?
The schedule that we were,
They.
they,
On East Santa Fe or whatever?
yes, they said it was in this building and it's an M.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah, I
said,
saw the sign on the
they said it
classroom.
was a $70 book used, and he wanted 2 completely different books that were actual books, not like a
Yeah,
textbook.
we should have warned you about entrepreneurship.
Really?
The syllabus textbook, I bought it, it's still in cellophane wrapping on my
Yeah.
bookshelf because we never used it.
Yeah,
The
he
first
told
day
us.
of class, he said, if you haven't gotten it yet, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Because he uses real life scenarios and real life text, or books rather than the
Yeah.
text.
I was fortunate enough to make $10 by selling it on Amazon.
And most of you are finding the strategy book online for the $20 to $60 range, somewhere there.
I think mine was about 40.
And if you found the 18th instead of the 19th edition, I don't know what's in it. I don't know how much difference there would be.
Now, you
Very close.
had a picture of your cover, so that helped. I just looked for the same
Okay.
look of the book. Salesforce management class, it didn't say version or give a picture or anything, so I'm just crossing my fingers it's the current
You know,
version.
in economics, I put up the macro book and I put up the combined economics book, and it says this or this. And I still have students coming in and say, which one do I get? So, writing stuff down and showing pictures is still a very imperfect form of communication these days.
Maybe we can progress at some point.
Well, yeah, my thought is, do you understand now? Are you interested, not necessarily tonight, but occasionally, do you guys want to sneak out and get some beer or a
Sure.
bite to eat after class?
Will you guys sneak me in the door?
Yeah, I'll sneak in. I loan you my ID.
Okay.
Okay, because I'll say something to that effect, that after class, next meeting, maybe we'll just all, whoever wants to, we'll step out and go to La Fiesta and have a bite of beer.
Well, you're all welcome to go to swing dancing lessons after class.
Like I said, beer and me swing dancing would not be a pretty picture.
These swing dancing's not a pretty picture, but it's certainly fun.
Beer's a lot more friendly to my injured shoulders than swing
There you
dancing.
go, see? Medication. Really, it's a pleasure seeing all of you again. And I gather, are you all finishing this term?
I am.
I
Summer.
am.
Huh?
End of summer.
Summer?
I would be, but I need to retake a class next semester.
Okay. So at least in the summer you'll be done.
Yeah, I'll be doing a one class next semester.
Now-
What do you think in next semester?
Marketing.
Now, I understand that if you graduate in summer, you can either walk in either the spring or the winter term, or the
Yeah.
fall term.
I'm not really worried about walking.
You're not worried about walking? How about the rest of y'all? What are you walking?
I'll be doing it. I have yet to graduate and walk, technically.
So are you gonna walk here
Yeah, this will
in
be my
the spring
first one.
or in the fall?
I think I'll do it in the spring, because
Cool.
I probably won't even be in Florida in the fall.
Okay.
See.
I'm gonna walk it. in the
This
spring.
term?
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm sure Laura is.
Me too.
Because I make it a graduation. I think it's important, but this will be the first time we have OM students graduating.
Awesome.
Which, by the way, is the fulfillment of my dream since I've been here, to see a bachelor's degree in management, so.
All four of us that split up, I guess.
Good, good. Okay, that's all I got. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Let me know what's happening. Watch the announcements, because I'll announce anything I'm doing and stuff I'm posting.